and something goes wrong, and the virus starts getting spread everywhere, whom will take the blame? Will it be the government? Will it be the United States? Will it be the medical practitioners? So I'm cautious in my thinking that when something will go wrong eventually, no one will be able to take blame, because they'll say the country allowed us to come in. So it's not our responsibility, it's your responsibility. So in conclusion, I'm against the idea of setting up this facility in Kenya, mainly because it's going to cater more for the citizens of America rather than our citizens.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It's 1:00, my guys. I think that was very deep and insightful. Thank you so much, Biko, for that. And I'm happy that you are not just giving us an opinion on Acha, but you are telling us why you are actually opposed to the decision. Sindio? Thank you. And I love the direction this conversation is taking. Napenda venye mnaji-express hivyo hii. Tuendelee kukuwa honest. Yes, Faye.
Thank you, Tony. Regarding the decision that the government has taken about bringing Ebola patients from the US into our country.
From the DRC,
from the DRC Congo, into our country, Kenya, I think it's really absurd. And it was I'm sorry to say this, but it was a very stupid decision. Something that up to date, I don't understand it at all, because when you look at us, malaria yenyewe, Tony, inashinda our doctors in the hospital to treat the citizens. Sembuse hii Ebola wanatuletea, and they're stating that hii Ebola disease, the quarantine facility in Laikipia, it's only and only for the US citizen. What happens when maybe a doctor who is inside there treating the people gets infected with it? Because unasikia you get infected through sweats from the person, the body fluids and everything. Tuseme hakukuwa kin, akuje apate contraction with the sweats. He has a wife and daughters at home. The wife ama the kids get infected. Na hawajui, because unasikia pia Ebola is more similar to malaria. The symptoms, kuna headache, vomiting and everything. Watoke iko nje, tukuje tusikie we have a case, and a Kenyan citizen amepata Ebola. Will they be treated in that facility? Because the US walipeana pesa na wakasema it's strictly for only the US citizen. So I think the country are not putting us into mind. They're just hungry for the money because it was a good deal, but it's not a good deal to us, the citizens.
Well, okay, so and Faye, I think we'll have to also confirm whether it is only for the American citizens. Ndio itabidi tumeangalia. Yes, mwalimu.
Yes.
Karibu.
Thank you so much, Tony. So, according to me, I'm airing my opinions according to my own perspective.
It's okay, Daisy. It's okay.
Yes, I think that you never know. Kenya might have its technical know-how. The only problem is that Kenya lost trust with the public here. Because you can't fight Ebola while half of the country thinks that the isolation unit is a trap. And again, I think that with the outbreak just an Uber way in DRC,
an Uber way.
Yes, in DRC, Kenya should better be ready, because DRC is just an Uber way. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daisy. I'm happy that umesema an Uber way. So many iko karibu kufika. Karibu Lilian. Before uniniacha kwanza ama utajiintroduce ukijibu. We're just giving our thoughts around the establishment of that quarantine facility. Sawa.
Yes.
So I'll give you an opportunity after, but utajiintroduce mwanzo, sawa?
Okay.
Yes, Lilian.
Thank you so much, Tony Blair. And concerning our preparedness as a country, as we always say, tahadhari kabla ya hatari. We have DRC and Uganda having cases of Ebola patients. So we don't know if Kenya is next. It's the responsibility of the Kenyan government to prioritize the health of the Kenyans, right?
Yeah.
And that's the reason as to why they need to set up facilities. Not just setting up, but these facilities should be equipped. They should train the health personnel. They should also create campaign towards educating people on Ebola. But coming towards what US said, that Kenya and America are in partnership, so that in Laikipia they set up a facility to quarantine the US citizens who have been affected with the virus. So one issue that we have as Kenyans, and that's why we are protesting, it's because, number one, it wasn't transparent. We didn't know, we didn't get the notice of the partnership from the Kenyan government. We had it from the US Secretary of State, what's his name? Marco Rubio, yeah. And from his statement, he said, we cannot and we shall not allow cases of Ebola in the US, in their country. So why should we, as Kenyans, whom we do not have even the first case of Ebola, allow Ebola in our country? You see? The other thing is that we Kenyans, we know very well our healthcare system is somehow shaky. Number one, no enough medical facilities. Even the staff, the healthcare workers, they are not enough. We know that very well. And as a third world country, even if the first world country is offering money to set up the facility, but I believe it's the responsibility of the Kenyan government to provide adequate healthcare for the Kenyans, and also there's this other, and also to be responsible for the Kenyans' health rather before kuendea hao wenye wako hapo nje. Thank you.
Asante sana for your contribution. Nataka nikuje kwako Jemo. Umesikia kitu tunaongelea?
Yes,
we are talking about that facility.
Yes.
So your thoughts around it, na utuambie pia thoughts zako tu.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is James Moruri.
Oh, I forgot what you are also doing. Ulikuwa unatuambia a country that is iko na the first letter in your name. So kama mimi nilikuwa Tanzania, Tony.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, Jay, I can say Jamaica.
Oh, okay.
Jamaica. Yeah, Jamaica is the country that first comes to mind. Of course, there's Jordan, but I could rather choose Jamaica because of the heritage of their music.
Okay.
So thank you so much for the opportunity. As a country right now, we find ourselves at a crossroad. The Ebola virus is a public health threat, not just to our country, but to the region at large. Speaking to the East African Community region, where DRC is a member state, and now Kenya finds itself at the very center of that storm, because we are the ones that are going to take that weight of now having to treat those Ebola patients here, as per the provisions of the Kenyan government. There has been sharp criticism, especially from members of the larger public and members of the opposition, about the setting up, not just of all the 23 quarantine, treatment and isolation facilities, but of the specific one at Laikipia Air Base. The government, through the Ministry of Health, the Minister for Health, Adan Barry Duale, was at JKL on Wednesday, and he dissected the matter at length. He said that there are 23 centers that are going to be built across the country for treatment, isolation, and quarantine purposes. The only center that finds itself at the middle of the storm is the one at the Laikipia Air Base, because it is going to be jointly used, as per the minister's statement. It is going to be jointly used by members of the US, citizens of the US, members of the US serving troops, who have who they are based in Kenya. They have, in fact, we have a very huge contingent of American soldiers in our country and in the larger region. It is at the center because specifically they say that if there is going to be a center that is going to host the Americans, it is the one in Laikipia specifically. The rest of the 22 are open to they are specifically for members of the Kenyan public. There has been criticism around that, but from where I sit, in the event, you see some of these diseases, some of these viruses, like the Ebola virus now we're talking about, those are viruses threats that do not respect borders. they can spill over into our country. And remember, Kenya as being the political and economic greenhorn of the East African region and the Horn of Africa. We face a threat where we will be forced to come in handy for these people. And why am I calling Kenya a political and economic greenhorn in our region? When you see around in our region, especially in the job market, we have really been infiltrated, quote unquote, by Burundis, by Congos, by Ugandans, by South Sudanese, by Ethiopians, by Somalis. They are all over. Kenya is the country that is hosting this multi-ethnically. And then the port of Mombasa, being the largest port of entry into the East African region, most of the goods that land at the port of Mombasa are not consumed only in Kenya. Most of them pass through the Northern Corridor, all the way to Eldoret, to Malaba, to Uganda, and then to DRC. So it is important that if I could speak of the 22 others, aside from the one at Laikipia Air Base, it is important that the government has taken a mandate and is very deliberate on wanting not to be caught flat-foot. Because you see that pandemic, in the event now there's a spillage and then there are cases reported in Kenya, the very same public will come out to say, where was the government? They knew there was a pandemic in our region. They did not prepare. They did not do anything about it. So it is good that the government prepares for some of these pandemics, especially the Ebola one, because it's a very deadly one. And in fact, we have enjoyed very robust health partnerships in the past since independence, and upwards of $8 billion. That is $1 trillion Kenyan shillings in health.
I want you to hold it there before, so that I come to my point. I'll come back to you.
Yes.
And you've raised very pertinent issues, especially the 22 other centers. Yes. But generally, even in terms of your contribution, I'm happy that you are communicating from a point of information that I must commend you, sindio? Hapo mmenaona mmefanya research yenu vizuri. But I want to come to you, Mheshimiwa, because you've heard what the young Gen Zs are saying, that for some of them it is not a question of the Ebola Center. For some of them it is about accountability and transparency. Kuna wenye anasema they first heard from the United States, alafu ndio wakasikia huku. So I also want you to delve in also, is Kenya becoming a country whereby people first doubt and then is when they ask questions?
Thank you very much, Tony, and I think hapo kwa Jimmy umekuja sana. Kwa Jemo, sababu umesema yeye ndiye research.
Pia ameleta important issues.
And I agree with him in his presentation, but let me say this. I agree with the sentiments that have been shared here by the agencies. And I want to say that it is it is important that we love our country, because this is our only home. And loving our country means we must take the necessary step to make Kenya a good place to live in. And I'm congratulating the President for taking the right steps to ensure that Kenya has preparedness to deal with Ebola. I follow the conversation. It looks like people are saying that Kenya is importing Ebola into the country. It's good to look into history for the longest. I know the younger generation fear history like plague, but the deeper you look into history, the further you see into the future. And we've had Ebola outbreak before. And Kenya is a transit route for trade in the East and Central Africa. And we share borders with many countries. And while there is screening that takes place at our borders, our borders are also very porous. So we may not screen everybody that come there. But the president of the country has taken steps. Just like insurance, the step the president has taken, I consider it an insurance. We are putting up an Ebola quarantine facility, so that on the unlikely event that there is an Ebola case in Kenya, then we have a place to take them, not to rush them to Kenyatta Hospital. So being prepared for that eventuality, I think, is pragmatic leadership. I've seen countries that have been ravaged by pandemics and epidemics before because of lack of preparedness. And those countries were reduced to ashes. The economy collapsed. If you look at the Black Death of England, it was just a bacteria that came and wiped out the entire population. And Ebola is very, very contagious. But again, we must live with the reality. It is not that Ebola is a completely new thing. I'm made to understand the variant we have today is new. But we've seen Ebola before. And there are people working with Ebola patients, and they still live. But we are saying, on the eventuality that Ebola comes to Kenya, how prepared are we? And I think it is important to take those precautions and have insurance for Kenyans. The impression being created is that this facility is for Americans and they're going to bring their citizens here and their citizens are going to spread the Ebola to Kenyans.
Yeah.
I think that's the impression being created. I've not had a single American citizen who is affected by Ebola. So it's a precaution we are taking. But the major concern that I had from the young people here is that how come we just get to hear the news from Marco Rubio, and today Marco Rubio seems to be more popular than our CS4. But it's because we get our news from social media. So when it pops in social media, the further the news comes, the more interesting it is.
Yeah.
We ignore local news. But one thing is for sure. Every time there is partnership by our country with another country, those things that are impactful normally come and get ratified here in Kenya. And once we have a treaty with another country that is binding, it is ratified by our parliament and it becomes public information. But we are waiting for announcements to be made on everything that the government does. Research is also very, very important. In fact, education is incomplete if you cannot do research. And I want to encourage you, young people, to spend your time doing research. There's a lot that is out there to be known. Tony normally tells me, don't think what you know is all there is to know. Sure. There is much more to know. So I want us to support our president so that Kenya can be made safe from Ebola by being prepared. Thank you, Tony.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa for that. And I know you have questions and I know there are certain things you don't agree to, but I'll give you an opportunity to respond. Sawa sawa? Iko sawa hivyo? Yeah, you don't have to agree, by the way. Si tunasemanga hapa, we listen, we don't judge. I'll give you an opportunity to ask the question, so hold it there. Yeah, but Mheshimiwa, you've mentioned a lot of things, and I'm also going to mention that as I was coming here, niliona a meme, and there was a former deputy president saying that they have brought Ebola to kill the people of Mount Kenya. So, to wipe out the entire Mount Kenya. So, yeah, that is something maybe you can also look at. I want to come to you from it was Kipto.
Just advocate.
Yeah, Kipto. I know you are the speaker of Nandi County Assembly, and as a leader, I know sometimes leadership is about making certain unpopular decisions. So I just want you to speak to that. How do you balance between public opinion and also public safety, for example, with this case that we now have of the president making such a decision?
So I think, thank you very much. I've tried to pick the conversation and the pointers as well as the points of view. What is coming out in all this conversation is a government running after communication has bolted. What I get is a communication gap. What I get is inability to fully satisfy the nation or the country, or inability to give a case for the quarantine facility. That any other conversation that follows after that is jambola. One laced with misinformation, suspicion, perception, fear. That I think the first time when I heard about a quarantine facility in Ebola, for Ebola, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is where is it going to be placed? Do you have the capacity and all those kind of things? So one of the biggest challenge when it comes to, because you've asked a question about how do you balance public perception vis-a-vis an agenda or policy. That is precisely the reason why we have public participation. That is precisely why we have free media space. But importantly, that is the reason our government does proactive communication. I suspect, to be honest, it wasn't a communication that was supposed to be shared because of the panic that it will create. The kind of conversation that you can see it has generated. Bottom line, an average Kenyan will take it as if Ebola has been brought to us. But if you juxtapose and say, okay, fine, we are a serious transport corridor to DRC. I don't think the borders have been closed. Our trucks are still going there. 75% of those ones are Kenyans. And if you look at how they operate, they have actually created a life ecosystem across the corridor. They have houses across board, all the way to DRC. So basically, they are susceptible. So one can argue that it's a good thing a government prepares.
Yeah.
But where was the communication in advance? Where was an address? Because I would want to see it this way. The ministry, what CS Duale was doing, FNOLUGA, the PS, their starting point would have been before. This is a news that filtered through from the US. And I think I've appeared in a show a few days ago and I mentioned America or US cooked Kenya. Simply because even if it was a confidential engagement between the two countries, the Americans being Americans, especially having Donald Trump at the top, who always has this impulse to say something. And in this case, them being in almost ready to go in terms of their midterm elections coming, and Trump has been selling the agenda of America first, it was very tempting for him and Rubio to sell the story and say, no Ebola person, even American citizen, can be brought to America. So that's good. Everyone will say they're very much concerned about their country. But then you follow it up by saying, in fact, we have a facility in Kenya that can handle that. What would you expect? Sure. So I want to empathize with the Kenyan government, because I'm sure when they were watching that kind of communication or information, they lost it at that point. Because as soon as the US has communicated its policy and said, for us, no citizen upon suspected being having contracted Ebola will have to step into US soil. So that means, or the other ones are expendable. So we can take them to Kenya, no problem. And that's why we have this notion around, we're bringing Ebola to Kenya. Simply because the others have said they're not taking even their own citizens. So I find, and I think Moko will speak more being a comms person, on the governance bit, that was a lapse in terms of proactive communication. Okay. It just needed a breakdown. For example, we say during COVID, we were caught napping. We didn't prepare in advance. Yeah. And by the time it landed here, we were scrambling to do things like lockdown, follow-up, setting up clinics. I was in a county government where we had to redo our budgets to cover for our health facilities. And again, that's a different conversation. Our health sector has been bedeviled with a lot of challenges. Even if you saw this debate online, you could see health practitioners delving in, and they are the first one to touch the government, saying, I don't think we have capacity or ability. In fact, it is post the fact that we've now come to understand there are 23 facilities and all that. So when you are a government, it's always good to have proactive communication. You seize the initiative so that you gauge popularity or acceptability of a policy when you place it. One more thing that I'll say that maybe can easily be related to the young people. I don't know if you remember when they came up with the university funding model. Yeah. Where was it lost? it first went out before engaging the students. So by the time it came out, the universities were up in arms because people are used to help. They know how help operates. There was no explanation and participation around it. That even I remember the president doing a town hall with university students. Yeah. He was now doing heavy lifting, which he would have done a long time. In fact, they would have come easily, calmly and say, oh, we're trying to change this. What we have doesn't work. How best do you think we can work? People can give their proposals and everything. Then by the time wanaileta inaka tofauti. But that one I think was slow. So for this one, the answer is always, people don't just oppose. And then I wanted to correct, someone says half the country. It's not half. Something has shifted in our country. There's almost a consensus when it comes to opposition or acceptance of an issue. Previously, it used to be split. And I think that was mostly when Baba was around. They used to have this 50-50 kind of scenario. That has shifted. You seem to see a consensus easily formed. So for you to have public perception on your side, a good policy, go ahead of time, sell it, public participation becomes important. For this one, I don't think it was even necessary to do public participation, but information flow, pole. By the time Rubio could speak, no one would have even bothered with America what they're saying. We wouldn't even have known it's American. We just said we are partnering. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa, for that. And I can see many Gen Zs nodding their head. I think they are in agreement with whatever you are saying. I'll come back to you in case you have a question. Finally, I want to come to you, Dismas. And yeah, you know, whenever I'm next to you, I'm reminded of, you know, the guy who did mass. But I wanted to ask this question. As you can see, the Gen Zs seem to be very skeptical about this quarantine facility. And I wanted to know whether, are they being unfairly skeptical, or is this something that has been actually created by the government over time? And in such a position, how do you ensure that then information is communicated in a way that then avoids such kinds of opposition?
Well, not long ago, I did not study journalism nor communication. I did accounting and business management. So some time ago, we were in a training program where we were being told how to create stories, how to write stories, by a gentleman called Mr. John Nagenda. Nagenda is President Museveni's media advisor. He said, when you see anything, you look at the hippo's nose, meaning that you must be very curious. And I would not blame the Gen Z for being curious. That should be a standard practice. You must be intellectually curious and ask so many questions. And as Kipto has indicated, right now the challenge is communication. And I say this as a practitioner. And when it comes to communication, all of you deserve my opinion, because I've been now in this space for about 25 years. And some of you look like you're 18 or 19. So I've been in this space much older than 19. Yeah, much older than you. Now, the administration, I don't know if it was an act of omission or commission, they created a vacuum, and this vacuum has been filled by misinformation and disinformation. One of the Gen Zs has said that Kenya is actually importing Ebola. You know, that is misinformation and disinformation. Then there's a political class which is saying that the reason why this facility is being located in Laikipia is to wipe out the entire of Mount Kenya. Again, that is misinformation and disinformation. So we can discuss this subject around communication and the lapses till the cows come home. But let's look at the material facts. And I'm glad that one of the Gen Zs here is studying international relations. We all know that we are in an environment of globalization, markets, and production, that whatever happens in New Zealand affects Kenya, whatever happens in Kenya affects China. So there is no way you can control all these borders. The borders are imaginary. For the longest time, Kenya has been promoted as the medical tourist destination in the region. So medical tourism suggests that you in fact bring tourists who are sick to come and be treated in your region. And for a very good reason, that we've got very solid human capital. If you look at Cambridge, now Cambridge has become a university offering postgraduate studies, meaning that you've got very solid talent at Cambridge. When you look at the hospitals we have in Kenya, public hospitals and private hospitals, one would easily say that we don't have peers in the region. When folks fall ill in, in Uganda, they come to Kenya, South Sudan. I mean, people really come to Kenya, so many. If you go to these hospitals, you will be surprised by the number of people who come in as a medical tourist, and others come for, You know, there's this surgery that ladies love, the plastic surgery. They come for all manner of things that, here in Nairobi, meaning that all our neighbors recognize when it comes to capacity, we have very solid capacity. You'd recall during COVID, when the United Nations was looking at a place within East Africa to set up a facility so that in the event people work for the UN and diplomats fall ill, where they would be taken, the UN established a partnership with Kenya. And we've got a solid field hospital at Nairobi Hospital, a facility put up because of COVID. Now, if Kenya says we've got top of the range healthcare infrastructure, I mean, you can talk about KNH, you can talk about KU, you can talk about MTRH in Eldoret. Those are very solid medical facilities. If you're looking at specialists or consultants for any medical condition in the world, you'll find them domiciled. If you go to KNH or you go to Nairobi or you go to Aga Khan, you go to Mata Hospital, I mean, you go to these hospitals, public or private, you've got very solid healthcare facilities and also the human talent. Now, there's something the lady from Ghana will tell you about healthcare or global diplomacy on issues around healthcare. And in my view, if President Trump made a call to President Ruto and said, wait a minute, we suspect that a number of our citizens may be victims of Ebola. Can you assist upset a facility in Nairobi? Is it possible that you can do that? If our President Ruto, I would have said yes, and say, how do we do this? Because at the end of the day, Ebola is going to be contained. There's no disease in the world which has defeated scientists. Ebola is going to be contained. So what are the benefits to Kenya? And please separate facts and emotions. And unfortunately in Kenya, lately we've been paying a lot of attention to politicians who speak on every subject as if they're subject matter experts. And for some reason, you guys swallow it's called hook, sinker.
Hook, line, sinker.
Yeah, we swallow everything. Can you tell me, why do you guys believe somebody who has got an A in literature and then he convinces you on issues of medicine and healthcare without any solid facts? Why do you believe that? And that is the challenge you have in Kenya. Most of us take decisions based on misinformation and disinformation. For instance, you would be surprised that I come from Kisii. So if I travel to the US and I get malaria in the US, those doctors do not know what malaria is. There'll be a stampede, there'll be a conference because they don't know what malaria is.
There will be a quarantine.
Yeah, there'll be a quarantine because they'll do blood tests. They'll not be looking for those things, I think they're called plasmodium, the things responsible for malaria. In fact, I've got a friend of mine who studied medicine at the University of Nairobi. But when he went to the US, he had to undergo training again for 2 years to understand the medical conditions around the US. Now, in the UK, they've even got a college for tropical diseases. So there are people in England understand what are the tropical diseases in this part of the world. Now, when they were the first few victims were taken to Germany, did the Gen Z in Germany say, wait a minute, you guys are importing Ebola to Germany? And then I think they were taken to a country called Czech. Those people did not complain. So instead of us making a noise and doing press ups and saying it's a stupid decision, it's an irrational decision, let's go and ask the facts. When UN put up this facility at Nairobi Hospital and COVID was taken care of, you already have that facility on standby, which is going to treat people. And bear in mind that so many Kenyans were trained by the UN. So on the international tax dollar, Kenyans are trained on how to manage COVID. And that facility was not limited to diplomats only. It was everybody would walk in. So for this facility, which is being put up in Laikipia, several things are, first of all, you're going to have the actual infrastructure, which is going to be put in place. So when you manage Ebola, the structure will still be there. It's not as if they're going to carry their field hospital back with it. Yeah, they'll not. Then these gentlemen we have who are doing masters and PhD, studying immunology, all these complicated sciences, will have the benefit of technology transfer. They'll meet their peers from some of the best university hospitals in the world. You know, if they're going to, I mean, if say you're talking about some of the best university hospitals in the world, you can talk about Johns Hopkins, a university hospital which has got its own, I understand they've got their own helicopters, they've got their top of the range facilities. You can talk about Harvard, you can talk about all those universities. Now, if Kenyans are going to be working in partnership with some of the best talents in the world, why would you be worried? And then, I know one of the ladies here said she's a teacher by calling, spoke about the issue of trust, such that if President Ruto says the sky is blue right now, everybody will dash outside to establish, in fact, is the sky blue?
He's lying, it is not blue.
So trust is something that this administration needs to work on. But why do we have an erosion of trust? It's because of misinformation and disinformation. For instance, can you tell me, is there a rational human being who would say, okay, there's a disease called Ebola, now let me take it to Mount Kenya because I want to wipe everybody? Yeah. So then how do even rational Kenyans believe that? How do rational Kenyans believe that? So in my view, we know Kenya is said to be an anchor state in the region. We are the regional headquarters for the UN. How come nobody complains that how come we have UN headquarters in Nairobi? The reasons why you have UN headquarters in Nairobi are the same reasons as to why you are going to have that facility in Kenya, because we are a logistical hub. When UN was bringing this hospital, they said, in which country don't we have transport challenges? That if our staff are in South Sudan falls ill, we can easily take them to Nairobi. If you're looking for medical doctors for any disease, you'll find them in Nairobi. So in my view, there's that book called The Animal Farm. Some animals are more equal than others. So us pretending that we play in the same league with the US is total nonsense. But what are the opportunities you are going to create out of this? And then finally, I know we have got very sharp fellas at the Ministry of Health who have sat down and done the risk assessment. That if you're going to bring Ebola patients to Nanyuki, how do we ensure that the rest of the nation has been immunized from this condition? So can you imagine somebody said that Ebola is an Uber way? So if we get Kenyans, truck drivers, who get sick and they're admitted, and so there's an hospital called, I don't know, a Pupa or a Pepper in Busia, they'll be admitted there. We'll use the resources brought by Americans to Kenya to treat them. Why should you be worried? So I think majority of, and this is the dangerous thing in Kenya, is that the fear of the unknown, and we've got a very high appetite, almost insatiable appetite for misinformation and disinformation. And because it confirms our biases, we run with it. I mean, your university students, don't you know that almost every university in Kenya, starting from the University of Nairobi, has got people who have been doing medicine and bachelors of science. They understand these subjects. They are very, very solid guys. Very, very solid guys who must have sat down and done a risk assessment. And in my understanding on how government works, Kipto and Mheshimiwa will guide us. The president does not wake up in the middle of the night to take a decision. When the proposal lands, he has to consult his technical advisors who tell him, yes, we've got capacity and competence to do this. So in my view, in as much as, because of the need to conform our biases, we easily slide into something, we need to be very careful with what politicians tell us. When politicians tell you anything, please pay attention. There's a book written by Chinua Achebe from West Africa. They said that when politicians tell you unite, ask them why. Why do you need to be united? And I'm making reference to the two politicians on my right. During campaigns, they tell us we need to unite. Number one, who tells them that we are not united? Or who tells them that we need to be united? So when a politician tells you that the president is importing Ebola, or he wants to make sure that he wipes out a community, does that even make sense? Is it logical? Why do you swallow those lies, hook, line, and sinker, without asking questions? So I'll finalize my remarks by going back to this guy called John Naganda, who said, when a politician tells you anything, look at the people's nose. For instance, right now, this gentleman called Mr. Gad Gashagwa, who says that this thing is going to finish an entire community. And then I've seen one of the panelists saying here that, we can't manage malaria or we can't manage tuberculosis. Why do you want to do this? Who says that we must manage everything before taking advantage of what is available at the global level? Maybe the resources we are going to get, the technology transfer and everything else, will assist us manage all these conditions. So in my view, we should run away from these politicians, especially the ones who do propaganda, misinformation and disinformation. And I know all the Gen Z here, these politicians on their first name, and you can smell a rat. When somebody says something, you can smell a rat. Please do not become victims of these politicians, because they politicize everything, and they may want to take advantage, and I use these words carefully, of your naivety to mislead you. So when somebody says anything, I see all of you have got smartphones. You're told to place them on silent mode. Just do a basic Google search and go to respectable websites. Don't go to these funny websites. Go to respectable websites. You'll establish that up to 90% of what the politicians are telling you is poisoning your mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. I think that deserves a clap. Cindy, how many of us are learning something genuinely? We are learning something, Cindy. So here we say you unlearn, you learn and you relay.
How many are not learning anything?
And Mheshimiwa, I'm happy that you mentioned a few things. First, you said that there was that guy who was in the quarantine facility, and because it became so severe, he was lifted to Europe. And they said that now he was doing well, and you put it that the Gen Zs in Germany did not make a lot of noise. So I want to know, maybe we are sharper than the Gen Zs in Germany. Alafu, the issue of technology transfer, as we are also doing it, is something that will benefit us even in the long run. You also mentioned about risk assessment that has been done by the medical doctors and the professionals at our Ministry of Health. So I think this is also a challenge to us as the Gen Zs, that the pursuit of knowledge ni kitu lazima tuendelee na nayo. Ndio tukitoka hapa, go to respectable platforms. Open AI. see mtu amesema you are running with it. You have been
see your blog sites.
Unaona. So let us check those things very, very.
Allow me to give an example not related to this.
Yeah.
I saw a politician from Western Kenya, and I say this because I'm a Kisii, who says the reason why many Kisiis are in the US is because of the late Simon Nyachai, which is nonsense. I come from Kisii. The Kisiis went to the United States or India. It was because their parents wanted them to excel in life. And as I'm saying, there was a competition that in Homestead A, somebody has gone to the US, then Homestead B must do the same, Homestead C must do the same. Because when these people go to the US, when they settle down, they bring resources. So if say Adelaide has gone to the US, our first responsibility is to put up a stone house back in the village and ensure that two of our siblings have gone to the US. And the two siblings are told, Pia nyinyi, you must make sure somebody comes in. So if you go to Kisii, and I'm not mentioning other counties, if you go to Kisii and Nyamira, has got the highest concentration of stone houses with tiles and mabatis because it was a competition. And ukimaliza Form 4, people never even went to Form 5 and 6. Unaambiwa kimbia huko, and then after a few years we want to see evidence.
I beg you stop Mokwa, because mi naona nakuja sana.
No. But you see now what that politician said in a show this morning, that people will actually believe that the reason why Kisiis went to the States or India is because of Nyachai, but it was individual family effort.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we unlearn, learn and relearn. Thank you so much for that. I think we've got the right panel in the room, and I'm happy that you're mentioning these things. And as I said, we engage respectfully. And I was just telling them before you came in that normally when we have these discussions in your absence, this discussion will be very chaotic because they will not even allow me to finish. Kuna bwana hiyo tumekataa, unaona.
And you're Tony Blair.
And so I think this is the best form of intergenerational dialogue, Cindy. So I'm going to come back to you. I know you have got very, very burning questions, and it is important, as they have said also. I was also checking my facts. I was listening one of those, I was checking one of those respectable platforms. I checked Statista. And according to Statista, you realize that Kenya is actually only second to South Africa in terms of our healthcare facilities. And in South Africa, part of that is highly attributed to their private facilities. But when you come to Kenya, it is across both private and public, at least tuko mahali. So kama Kenya wewe unasema ati tuko nyuma with the kind of facilities zenye tuko nazo, and yet in Africa we are number 2. What does that also tell about us as a country? Even recently I also checked, there was a report by the World Bank ilikuwa inaonyesha kwamba in terms of human capital development, Kenya is actually the best in Africa. Unaona? So sometimes we rush so much into highlighting the negative things about our country, yet we forget the very, very many positive things we can talk about. Sindio? Let me not speak much, I'm not a panelist. Let me come back to you. Nani ataanza wa kwanza tena? I just want you to tell me whether you are agreeing with some of the things they are saying. Kama kuna point umeona imeingia mahali, this is the moment. Unaona? It is not wrong kukua persuaded na kumove to the other side. Sawa sawa. You're actually allowed to say, by the way, I was not seeing it in that sense, but now, sindio? Yeah, because we can actually wait, by the way. Si tunaweza ngojea alafu ifike and then we say, si sasa imefika. So what are the alternatives pengine nyi mna recommend? Okay, tuachane na hii Ebola basi kae huko. What do we do? Unaona? We must also have that discussion here. What are the alternatives you are providing? Tomorrow we'll be in positions of influence. Let me start with you, Biko.
Thank you very much, Tony. I believe the panelists have done justice to this subject. They have raised very pertinent issues. However, I want to refer to two books that normally inspire me. One is a book written by someone called Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, where he argues that human beings make decisions based on emotions, not logic. And he got a Nobel Peace Prize for that. So human beings make decisions based on emotions. Number 2 is the Constitution of Kenya, particularly the preamble, with the people, which talks about sovereignty, democracy, and most importantly, we have the love for the country, patriotism.
Patriotism.
I choose to look at this topic of Ebola not as a disease issue, but as a question of sovereignty and setting of precedences in Africa, for instance. Because, and also democracy, because we saw a court ruling that was made and it was ignored. Well, I've always been a fan of the president because he's never ignored any court ruling. But on this one, I was kind of shaky when it was ignored. Now, the president that I'm talking about is this. In the past, we've always seen that all bad things seem to come to Africa, from the Western and from the Europe. It seems like Africa is being portrayed as a refuge for all these bad things, for bad people and everything. All right? And by us accepting this deal, which we are not totally aware of its content, it's going to set a precedent in this country and to other African nations, whereby if they can't manage things there, they just bring it to Africa and automatically accept it, which speaks to my initial point of desperation and neediness from our part. All right? And so, going forward, Tony,
Yes.
I'm a trained civil and structural engineer, and one of the principles in structural engineering is redundancy. Redundancy is a deliberate system of creating systems that in case if one fails, the other ones will continue working very well. And these redundant things, they can always work even if these other members can always work without these redundant members. So for instance, in our health Ministry of Health, for example, why is it that we must wait for such kind of scenarios that we start speaking about agreements that people were not aware of? Why is it that we must wait until it's the last moment that we are caught? We are caught unawares, all right? So what the government needs to do is to create deliberate systems that, first of all, foresee such kind of instances and try to come with solutions. Like, for example, if assuming this deal was not there, this deal for the USA, which to some people it seems very good, but to me, I'm still shaky with it. I need to be persuaded more on it.
Hopefully, by the end of the show, you will be persuaded.
Definitely, I hope. Okay, so, for example, assuming the US didn't come in and Ebola was there, what could have happened? Were we going to be wiped out by the disease?
No,
Definitely not. The government could have done, they could have said, for instance, we have this affordable housing fund, which is being cut from employees each and every month. They could have said, for instance, let us suspend these projects first, and let us channel our energy towards this disease. We can also take resources from other ministries and channel it towards this disease, because this is an emergency, all right? And you do anything in order to survive. So I think we must also start being more self-reliant as a nation. We should not always just be looking unto the West and Europe for our help, because in 63 years, we are 63 years old, we cannot always be looking for help from abroad. That is my submission.
Thank you, Biko, for that. And as you are making a contribution, I could see Jemo, he was kind of disagreeing. I know he's a civil engineer. I don't know whether he works in affordable housing program. But I'll allow him to respond at a later time. Ambrose, welcome to the show. You've arrived quite early, but we are talking about the establishment of the quarantine facility. And we have gone for the first round, so perhaps also your insights as you introduce yourself. But before you do, make sure you give us a name that begins with the first letter of your name. Tanzania, Tony. Oh, the name of a country whose first letter is the first letter of your name.
Ambrose, Angola. Or Angola is not a country.
No, that was so fast, but it's okay.
Okay. Sorry, my name is Ambrose. And sorry for coming late. And on the perspective of the issue being discussed in regards to Ebola, first, I believe it is setting us as a country, giving us the good picture that indeed we are making good steps even in the health sector. And as a matter of fact, Kenya is a regional hub. Also in Africa, you see when people talk of Kenya, it is the Singapore of Africa. And therefore, when the US saw it wise, in as much as they are saying they don't want to see anybody Ebola in their country, but the health organizations around in the world and even perhaps in our region, they are saying it best to have the quarantine centers in Kenya. Not because Ebola is a bad thing, but I believe because we are capable of having these quarantine centers around. Because I was being told that initially Kenya had given health workers to go and support, I don't know which country exactly.
So Sierra Leone,
you see, and it was successful. And they came back safe. No, there was no any Ebola case in Kenya, you see. So it is that maximum point of operation, I believe. That's why they are considering bringing it to Kenya once more.
Thank you.
But just a quick injection from what Ambrose Angola said. That time when Kenya sends healthcare experts to West Africa, did you actually complain that these guys were going there and then they would bring the disease back?
Actually, for me, I never knew even that they went.
but
on a very serious note,
No, the question is now for that civil and structural engineer who spoke about redundancy.
Yeah, but on a very serious note, Kenya, we have been producing experts that has really, even if not health, even on the other sides, we always have good brains. So I trust our brains.
Thank you.
Lebanon, and then let's not take information from any Tom, Dick, and Harry in the streets. They are really misleading us. Let's get the real medics. What are the real medics saying? Like right now, the people we wanted to be talking are from your hand. What are those people saying? Because like all institutions that are offering medicine, microbiology, things to do with that, those are people we should be listening to. Perhaps even in the health sector, perhaps we're having some quacks who can be giving bad information. But what are the professional sayings?
That is valid, Ambrose, and I think we should rephrase it. Let us not take information from any Tom, Dick, and Gachagua. Yes, Biko.
Harry is good enough.
Yes.
The question I was posing is that when Kenya sent experts to West Africa to take care of Ebola, at that stage, did we say that we are sending some of our sharpest tools in the shed to a lions then where they're going to die? Or if they survive, they'll come back with the viruses and spread them across the nation?
We didn't complain, first of all, because of the spirit of Ubuntu, right? I am because we are. Africa, we embrace the spirit of Ubuntu. And also, the context is a bit different, all right? Because we still have that colonialism mentality in us. It still haunts us up to today. When such kind of things happen, we feel like we are being used. That's why I'm saying this. That's why I'm speaking the way I'm speaking. But as I said earlier, I still want to be persuaded that this deal is in our best interest as a country and not in the interest of America. That is my bone of contention today. Yeah.
Thank you, Biko, for that. And I think I'll come to you, or you want? Kuje kwako alafu we'll come to you. Is that okay? So, as you also respond to that, Nani, JMO,
Yes.
Yeah, there's also the argument that we are an ally of the US, and there was also that time when we and the US went to help the Haitians
Haiti,
with the
NSS.
insecurity stuff and
Yes.
to come hizo. There's also the argument that this thing could actually be a global pandemic, and therefore this is an opportunity for Kenya to then help in combating or averting it. Unaona?
Yes.
So how do you also respond to such arguments when such things arise?
Yes, thank you. Kenya as a country is a global and diplomatic, especially a global diplomatic hub, where we host, as one of the panelists said earlier, some of the international organizations, including the United Nations, and under it, the UNEP. Yeah. So we host a majority of international institutions in our country. If that is not even enough, Kenya, we have the second most efficient healthcare system in Africa, just behind South Africa. In fact, for a point of information, the Kenya Medical Research Institute, the KEMRI, the KEMRI labs, we have one of the best and one of the most advanced in Africa. And that was confirmed by the Africa Center for Disease Control, Africa CDC, and the Global Center for Disease Control. If you also listen to the World Health Organization Director General, Tedros, just barely a few days ago, he advised the East African health ministers to hold a convention about with the UN and also a regional one, especially for a joint one between EAC that happened. That was also supposed to have the SADC health ministers, so that we can know how to combat these healthcare crises. If Kenya being an ally of the US is not even enough, remember that Kenya, we have entered into what we call global health diplomatic frameworks that help us to deal and combat with aspects of healthcare, aspects of national and international security in our region, where we've seen frameworks that even if it is not the US in that deal, we ourselves are able to deal with issues in a cross-border manner. As an example, where I said earlier about the US soldiers, remember that in Kenya, you also have forces that are serving in the DRC under the MONUSCO in the DRC. So I think preparedness is more important than I think preventive care, if I could rephrase that, is better than curative care.
Okay.
The kind and volume of noise and misinformation we could get around by that Ebola, in fact, entering the country and getting us having not the 22 and even not the 23rd one in Laikipia could be greater than there could be one that is here. And if I could also speak to an aspect of how we run our democratic spaces, people have freedoms of expression, but let not we the Kenyans be misled by our leaders. If I could give an example, someone is running for office of president to become a commander-in-chief. And then that very same person is beating up the citizens to go and ban a military installation. So how do you want to command people that you want them wiped out? And if that is not even enough, in the June 25th, 2024, when we had demos and the KDF was deployed into the streets, remember the primary mandate of the Kenya Defense Forces is in fact to protect the life of Kenyan citizens. Police are there to keep law and order, but the KDF are there to protect our lives. So if we get to a point that we want to infiltrate military facilities, garrisons and barracks, I think as a country we need to look deeper. And most of these healthcare platforms, healthcare sections in the military are in fact handled by very capable and people of great ranks, like the one in Laikipia Air Base is handled by a Major General. So we should not doubt the sort of healthcare system we have, and ultimately the sort of skill transfer that we, working with the Africa CDC, with the Global CDC, WHO, our KEMRI, and even the government chemist, that ramps up our testing, that ramps up our testing, information sharing, and surveillance in the region.
Thank you, James. I think that was very articulate of you, and I'll come back. There's something I needed you to confirm there, but I'll come back. Let us first go to Faye, and then Faye, you had something very so intense. This is the opportunity.
Thank you. I've heard a lot. I've learned a lot.
Thank you.
I've been criticized a lot. And I think I've been, I think, Vico, I'm already persuaded with the deal right now because
wow.
I've got to learn a lot from the three gentlemen over there. Actually, I'm one of the daughters who are always being carried out by misinformation because I'm one online person. These things you hear them on social media or by the anti-government people. Oh, wamekuja kutumaliza and stuff. So I heard about whatever I was talking about earlier. I heard it on social media and I had to bring it out because I was also not understanding. But thank you for the criticism. I've learned. And right now I think that the president has showed a lot of preparedness and international health unity between Kenya and United States of America. So thank you so much. And yeah, I hope also my friend is going to be persuaded.
Hopefully. And thank you so much, Faith, for mentioning that. You know, when you raised your hand, I thought you really wanted to disagree with whatever Mokua was saying, but I'm happy that at least there's some learning which is taking place in there. Simba kulan, by the way. If you are somebody who doesn't want to yield to any new position because of what you initially believed, I think there's definitely a problem with you, Cindy. You must always be ready to welcome new information. Now, then you weigh whether it makes sense according to you, Cindy. Because at the end of the day, if you see what anyone Kenya, and all we are seeking here is to move the country forward, Cindy.
Tony, sometimes they say, only a fool never changes.
It's mine.
Yeah, and I still have a question for the civil and structural engineer. Yeah, because if it was Ubuntu then, you know, training a medical doctor in Kenya or a clinical officer requires heavy lifting, a lot of resources. And I'm not debating any program. That at the cost of training somebody maybe a bachelor's of arts in anthropology and a bachelor's in medicine and surgery, the two costs are quite huge. Now, if we got some of our best, then we send them to West Africa to treat Ebola, which you referred to as Ubuntu. I am because you are. So what has changed now? Because now we've got even better facilities, and there's even somebody who is paying the dollar. Some taxpayers in the US from California, Texas are paying that. What is the difference? Because if it's about getting the condition, these guys would get the condition when they're in West Africa, or they can get the condition when they're in Laikipia. What is the difference?
Well, my point of view is this. In whose interest is the Americans acting? Is it in our country or theirs?
Now, every country
are they striving to protect their citizens or your citizens? Let us look at it from that point of view. And also, as I said earlier, what is the precedent being set in this country, whereby we are just recipients, we cannot be contributors of ideas.
You are right.
Let us allow it.
Maybe I can answer this way. Each country caters for its own interest. We are in an international ecosystem where each country fights its own war, survival, and all that. So Americans have no reason and responsibility over Kenya. That's one. That's why for them, what is their consideration? If it is cheaper and maybe politically correct for them to have a facility outside their country, so be it. Did you ever understand why Guantanamo Bay became a holding ground for the so-called terrorists and not American prisons? Because it would create a misnomer in their own law and legislation. What their law provides on matters holding suspects and giving due process and even sticking to laws against torture made it impossible for them to hold Al-Qaeda suspects and the rest in their own. So what do? They do what they do best. They outsource. And that has been the American way of dealing, whereby they would rather outsource, keep it away from the vicinity of their people, especially if it is something that is politically sensitive. So on that one, I'll tell you, they have no basis, they have no reason to even bother about what Kenya does. That's one. But you are right in giving a second point. When will we be net contributors? That, I think, should be the question. Because 60, 70 years down the line, we should not just be recipients. Like, you see, our begging bowls and hands and always expecting. That, for example, I saw when Americans were being removed from Niger, their military support was being withdrawn once a new junta regime came in. And Kenya was happy to tell them, please bring those hardware. We'll be happy to take them. Why don't we buy? So that's a good question you've been able to put across, whereby I think African countries, and even if you see the summits that we've been having against France Africa Summit, China Africa Summit, Italy Africa Summit, all these summits, one of the reasons why it has been receiving a lot of backlash online is because you find this, your generation now asking this question: for how long will we just be sitting and begging and receiving? What is our contribution to this economy? And that's why you see a challenge towards Africa to move into spaces within the global sphere where they're net contributors. And the best lesson was learned during COVID. Because of this aspect of always waiting and hoping something can happen, we were caught napping, because for COVID preparedness and response, the West just locked up their supplies through their systems and established health their vaccine production system. We were left to, actually there was a fear that huku kutakuwa na mass death. It's only that if you are religious enough, you'll say then God was with us. We still didn't die.
Yeah.
We were just okay. Tuliona ni kama tu homa, watu wanakunywa maji moto, unaweka lemon, and we are good to go. So that aspect of contribution, what more can we do, is the kind of a thing. We can build our system down. So that even if I'm to comment on what Mokwa you said, you're saying what government maybe should have done. This was the best opportunity for them to sell this bit of within the region. And like in COVID, this time we are doing something different. We want to partner. In fact, they would have captured it as a partnership. We are partnering. We already have 22 facilities. That would have been the best starting point. Not to say we established this is the first one. Say we have 22 facilities, we want to expand. And you say Kenya has a history. During previous Ebola epidemics, whether in West Africa and DRC, Kenyan professionals have always gone to build capacity. They would even say there's need to reinvest and put more money in Cambridge. We need more partnership. Even the president would tout after USAID pulled out, he would have said, I went back to Washington negotiating something different, whereby they fund directly. And I think now we want to get into a conversation of setting up regional center, so that the same way, there's someone who mentioned we have Burundians and the rest who take their jobs. Funny enough, they don't take our jobs. I wanted to correct that. Kenyan human resource is unmatched in the region. I think in Africa, we compete super favorably with countries with triple our population. For example, Nigeria. If you talk about Kenya's capacity on human resource, I'll disappoint whoever said that by saying the Burundians, the South Sudanese, the Tanzanians, they can't match us. Actually, if we just get a sample of you and throw it to Uganda, nyinyi ndo mtafukuzwa, because you'll take all their jobs. Tanzanians don't like that because of the same thing. So if it's about capacity, we have it. That is now the reason we can say, why don't we harness the potential we have? Why don't we go further, create partnerships, build synergy, and then sell it? I think that in a small way will turn heads, and people will start believing and say, okay, fine. We are a country that are thinking big. Let's go that direction. Are we there yet? I think because of leadership, we are not yet there. And I think the president I think the president himself has acknowledged and says, in fact, I remember there was a time a president has said, where is the scale of our ambition? That's a pertinent question. And my biggest disappointment with us as a people, I know I don't even point fingers. I don't like saying so and so. The biggest disappointment as a people, we are very good individually and brilliant in our private spaces. But in our public thinking, we're dumped down. We are just idiots when it comes now to public thinking. So that if you look at a public project, how it is executed, I went to Addis Ababa for the AU, and you could see how different it is. Their public execution of projects, simple things like how they have done their CBD, Mwanaville Expressway in Apita. If you go to Addis Ababa, they have just done landscaping that Kenyans. If you go to your individual homes and houses and where we come from, people have done really awesome landscaping. Why don't we translate the same when it comes to public? What is it that changes? What happens? Do we stop thinking? We are all engineers, doctors, lawyers here. We do magnificently well in our private spaces. Why doesn't it translate into? That's why even this conversation about preparedness and everything, if we could transition, we like privatizing our public problems. So our private hospitals are super equipped. Have we transferred the same to public hospital? Can we speak of the same in school? Now, everyone is running into private schools. We are collapsing public schools. Why? Because of that.
I've lost you somewhere. You said you're privatized?
We are privatizing public problems. So when you collapse a public system, which is supposed to help majority of the citizen, we do it assuming that because I have some money, I can go to a private facility, whether it's a school, whether it's a hospital. So you will find our private facilities are doing extremely well. But it came at the backdrop of collapsed public system. If we had a good public transport system, if we had really responsive public health system and public education, life would be cheaper. Why is it expensive? Because we always assume, wacha tuwe hii ya umma, after all, kila mtu akufe kivyake, utaenda Aga Khan, utaenda wapi? So that's what happens.
It provoked me to say three things, then I'll get ice cubes in Nyamaze. Your issue privatizing these problems.
Yeah.
There was a conversation at the Senate not long ago. They said majority of public hospitals have got private pharmacies or chemists within the same hospital. So you begin to wonder, this is a county hospital, but some people have been given shops or outlets to sell their goods and services. That is number one. Number two, back to Biko, it's possible for America to pursue their national interest and Kenya to pursue their national interest at the same time. Under the circumstances, maybe America's national interest is that we are not going to allow any American with Ebola to come in. But for us, what would be our national interest is to buttress our capacity as a medical tourist destination, get the knowledge transfer, get all this money coming in, so that we keep on building this capacity. You can imagine the number of people who may get jobs, the knowledge transfer, and everything else, which will come. So, I mean, this young lady, I'm not criticizing you, we're just having an intellectual intercourse, and they say in diplomacy, the priority for every nation is to pursue their national interest. So Kenya can pursue national interest and the US. And I think in the Constitution, I think there's a Bill of Rights where they talk about healthcare being almost a right. How are you going to grow your healthcare facilities if you do not deliberately engage in ideas cross-pollination? Take advantage of these investments. Then this is the conversation that, well, when will Kenya have surplus to give? Where Kenya has got capacity to give, we did when we sent our people to go to West Africa. And even by allowing these Americans to set up their facilities in Kenya, again, we're giving them land, we're giving them Kemri. And I wish there's another country, China or India, requesting for these facilities so that we set them up here and grow. Because there's a gentleman called, I'm going to remember his name shortly. He was chief of staff for Obama, who said, never, ever let a crisis go to waste. When you see a crisis, see how to take advantage of it. I suspect that many presidents in Africa who are told, can you have this facility? They said, wait a minute, how is my populace going to react? They're going to give me all manner of branding. But Kenya said, let's take up this facility, provided we mitigate the risks, provided we manage these risks, then I think we're in a very good place. Because you see, you have several options. Sit on your hands and wait for manna to fall from heaven, or proactively look for opportunities like this one. Thank you. I'm taking now ice cubes.
Thank you so much for that. And I think there are a few responses I left on this other side before then I come to Mheshimiwa to finalize, because there's something I really need us to jump into right next. So I don't know whether there's anybody I'm leaving out. Kuna kitu? Yeah, so I'll come to you, alafu nikuje kwako, and then wewe sio. Yeah. Yes, Adelaide.
Okay, I think I'm the only one around hospital environment. I'm the only one in the hospital right now. I'm a nutritionist. In fact, as much as I'm in third year, I've been, like 2 weeks ago, I was in Mama Lucy. And now, this week, I'm going to work with Kemri for my attachment. So, I think you are trying to say we are misinformed, but we are not misinformed. We know the facts. The fact is they are bringing Ebola-exposed patients in our country. And you said we've recorded an Ebola case. I can't remember any Ebola case being recorded.
No, he said we have not.
He said we have. Okay.
Said we have not. So you are guided.
Well, there was a scare at AAR.
Yeah. Are you guided?
I'm guided.
Thank you so much. Let's come to.
So, me, okay, I want to ask a question to the three. And I want it to be a yes or no question, no further explanation. So, let's say you have a boss, right? The boss has traveled. He's come back with like a deadly flu, yeah? He's been exiled by his family. He can't go to his home. This boss has everything, every technology, and he's telling you, Martin or Kipto,
Yeah.
Kipto or our
Makua.
Kisi friend. He's telling you. The boss is telling you. The boss is telling you. Oh, can I establish? Can you give me a room in your home? Yeah, I've been exposed and I've been exiled from my home. My wife amekataa nisikuje kwangu because I have this deadly flu. Can I come to your home? Do you allow him? Yeah? Yes
No,
or no?
go to quarantine.
Do you allow him? No or yes?
No, go to
You?
quarantine.
You?
Come again at the question. I would wish to
Okay.
put into context this.
Your boss has traveled.
Yes.
He's back and he's exposed
Okay.
to a deadly flu, right? He's been exiled by his family, can't go to his home. And he's asking you to create a room for him in your house. Do you allow him in
No.
with your family? And
No.
you?
If I have capacity, yes.
It was a yes or no.
No, Adela, you want to arrange our family.
You're going to put me in a box.
So that's the same case that's happening in Kenya. Like the US, they're exiling their patients and they want us to expose ours. Yeah. So Kenya is our family. It's
But
not
wait,
a different
Adelaide.
case.
But wait, Adelaide. These people who may have been exposed to Ebola, they're not being, and I'm going to be very graphic, they're not coming in a truck. And then they're being released at Gikomba market to go and mix with everybody.
You're claiming
No. They're coming in a truck. That they're being taken to a quarantine, and they'll only be released when the authorities satisfy themselves that if the quarantine period is 21 days or 21 days and another 21 days when they don't have any signals or symptoms of a condition.
But the fact is, we know they are exposed,
Yeah.
and we can't base our argument on like that's the only way Kenya can better technology.
Okay,
As Kenya, we already have we already took measures to this Ebola thing. For now, 80,000 people have been screened at our borders. We have 1,000 medics trained for this Ebola thing, and that's before this US thing. Meaning, as Kenyans, you are taking measures, so you can't base an argument on that's the only way we can gain technology.
Adelaide, in your
Okay,
house.
And-
let me ask the last question.
Yeah.
Then why are you in school developing capacity and competence to treat these conditions if you cannot treat these conditions?
I'm
And also answer it in the context of Ubuntu.
Yeah. So, okay, first of all,
Yours is not yes or no.
No, mine is not yes or no.
so I'm in school and I'm being trained, yeah? But being trained doesn't mean I have to get exposed to those things, yeah? Yeah? And myself, I'm a nutritionist and my career is based on mostly prevention. So I believe we can prevent this thing without bringing it home. We have better methods of
Hold it there,
preventing.
Adelaide. Hold it there. I'm coming back to you. I want to pick his question easy and then they'll respond and then we move to you. Ni tafadhali, si ndio? I guess mmecapture hizo maswali zake.
Thank you so much, Tony Blair, for giving me this opportunity. Adeline has made my adrenaline to rise. Yeah, so I think is it Duncan?
No,
Dismas.
Oh,
Or you can
Dismas.
say the Duke of Mososho or the
Or
Kissy man.
the Duke of Exactly. I think I've watched a movie called 1,000 Ways to Die, and one of the takeouts of that movie is that something may happen. We have a lot of fear and we have mistrust with the government, but I think I also come to my point of agreement with you, especially when you say we are misinformed. Most of us do not know even how Ebola is contracted and how even it becomes, a pandemic or a challenge to us. And also, I think also the zombie thing that you say that people are being brought in trucks
Then
and
you receive them at the airport.
then you happen to contract the other person by biting his finger and then he has Ebola. No, But I agree with your point, the two of you. I agree with your point that most of us are being misinformed, and there's need to have a civic education on the same, so that Kenyans from mashinani and all over the country who cannot hold the resources for themselves, they can be able to access through the radio and all other streams of media. Yeah,
thank you, Jerry, for that. I'm coming to you, Lillian, but before I do, there's another question also, Biko. Biko, you seem to be receiving a lot of strays. Someone who is watching us online asked the civil engineer a question. If he was offered an education scholarship to the global north, would he take it? Then she goes on to proceed that the collaboration is a win-win. It's for the capacity development in infectious diseases, acquisition of equipment, and an upgrade of our health facilities. We need not politicize everything. We are a party of the global village. We need one another. So maybe she'll respond, alafu utakuja kwako, then we'll come back. Sawa. Hope umeipata. Yes, Lillian. And kindly let us now be brief so that at least to finalize. India.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's true. We need one another, but there is also that part of what about yourself? What about the people in your country? How do you prioritize them? So how have you prioritized them? So as a young person in leadership, this is what I would say. We, the youth, we have the capacity, we have the energy. Some are misinformed, some are aware of what is happening in our country. Agreed. And it is our right to demand for transparency, to demand for flowing in communication in the government. One other thing is that, Ebola is not just a medical issue. Ebola right now in Kenya, it's a governance issue. It's about security as a country, and it's also about public trust. So because today's topic was on Ebola preparedness, the Kenyan government should show us how prepared it is and to win people's trust if possible. But here in Kenya, we don't trust our government because of what has been happening. That, like some of the panelists have said, that hata tukiambiwa tutoke nje na serikali ilisema sky ni blue, you have to go outside and confirm.
Yeah.
You have to go outside and confirm. Hata mimi nitatoka nje and confirm. Yes. So my point is that so many people will see this as a loophole to steal resources that should help in containing this disease. For example, exactly. And also,
make it loud.
KEMSA
millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah, during Corona period, people made a lot of money, which is true. And not only in the health sector, but we have seen that Kenya loses 800 billion in a year, which is a huge sum of money. And it seems like corruption is in so many leaders' blood, such that whatever they touch, they steal. They touch, they take. So you'll find that we are prepared, but there are people who will drag us behind. So mine is to say that let's make sure that if we are prepared as a country, we are prepared fully to contain this disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. And I'm happy. I love the way you say that they touch.
They take.
Okay. Let us pray that this time round they touch but they don't take. Yeah, it is a hope. Let me come to you briefly. Alafu ulikuwa na kitu, si ndio? Then tukuje kwa Biko utajibu kwa, alafu tutakuja kwa, si ndio? Yes, mwalimu.
Thank you once again, Tony. So before I proceed, I personally want to stand with the government. But before I proceed, I would really love to urge my sister. She's saying that her work, or their work, is more of dealing with the prevention and how about emergency? Are you going to run away that because my work is dealing with, prevention and cure, because and this is emergency, let me just run away? Because I'm not.
Yeah.
Because I don't really know if there is always screening at the airbase before Ebola.
Okay.
If someone sneaked in Kenya, then mulikata the isolation unit, how are you going to handle it?
Yes, of course. Okay.
Yeah, and so as I start with government, I would love to say that let's not look down on our government. Let's not disdain it. We are capable. The government of Kenya is capable. So let's empower our government instead of blaming it. Because what it has shown is more of, crisis readiness than materialism, the way some people are interpreting it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daisy, for that. Because, Adelaide, before you respond, the last time I checked, you were a student at TUK, and your vision or motto is education and training for the real world. But here comes a case where you don't want us to operate in the real world. You want those people to handle the COVID. But maybe you can respond to.
Okay, let me respond to my teacher friend.
Okay.
So the first thing the Ebola is an epidemic, right? And the first step of controlling an epidemic, we are now talking in medical terms.
Okay.
The first step is border protection. Yeah, we are not protecting our borders. We are opening them to the exposed people. So yeah, so
Adelaide, and our borders porous.
Yeah. Oh, but that's why I'm saying we can do better. We can intensify the screening at our borders.
Wait a minute. The head of WHO said that the conventions do not allow for countries to close borders. I suspect WHO is...
I'm not saying we should close our borders. I'm saying we should intensify screening within our borders. And
Okay. Shikilia hapo. Biko, you respond to the other question, alafu we really need to finish and come huku. So I'll take yours na Ambrose.
Yeah, so I believe the member of audience asked if I can take scholarship to study abroad. I can take that opportunity. In fact, if she has the opportunity, she can just throw it my way. I'll take it. But this is the thing, the fact that I'm having an alternative opinion about this issue does not mean I'm politicizing it.
Oh, okay.
I've just done my due diligence, just as most of us, to try and have a research on this. And according to the research that I obtained, I was not persuaded enough that this is what's good for us as a country. Right? Yes. I'm not politicizing everything. As a matter of fact, I am a supporter of the government, as I stated in my earlier introduction. I'm not against the government, but the fact that I support the government does not mean that I have to agree each and every time they come up with something. The government can do better in this situation, and I trust that can happen. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Big. And when you're persuaded, you can agree. Sindio? Exactly. Yeah. So, Ambrose, let us have you briefly, and then I'll have Mweshimiwa give us also his side, because I think the two other panelists have had enough time to actually respond. More than enough. Then we jump briefly into that other topic. I'll have to malizie. Sindio? This is mapema ndo best.
Okay. First and foremost, I really want to appreciate the kind of information that is being passed here. And I'm really learning a lot. And in as much as I'm learning a lot, I'm also still standing guided in my principles. That Kenya is not just a country just like any other in Africa. Kenya is the hub of perhaps knowledge. In Africa, when we are bringing these people to Kenya, and I really want my sister here to really understand, just the way your Kisii friend just told you, these people are not being brought and being exposed in Gikomba or whichever market. The kind of how these people are going to be handled is totally very different. They come straight to the quarantine centers. Perhaps even the people, the medical personnel people who will be checking on these people, I also believe they will not be that exposed to the other citizens within the country. And I believe there should be totally nothing to worry about, because one of the key things, I don't know what happens in the field of medicine, but I believe risk analysis is very key. For anything, me in my field, I have worked with Tony and you know how I handle risk. Risk analysis, it is very key because if you don't handle risk well, then you are going to expose to deadly things. So our first and very key priority, and the government, I mean, the medical personnel, and that's why I always want to listen to them rather than listening to any other person, because any other person can just be telling me what he thinks. But the medical professionals will be telling me what is right, unless there's a quack who penetrated into that system. Yeah, okay. Which is the thing. So me, I'm not that worried that we are these people are coming to Kenya. My only worry, and without even any neglect, is that we are going to come out stronger than we are right now. Because if those people sent to Sierra Leone managed, then even this one are going to manage. And this time it's not just managing. We are going to be left behind with good facilities.
Absolutely.
Thank you. But another key thing, you see, many of us are worried because we know, many of us know that there's something behind this thing, this quarantine and Ebola thing. Yeah. I think that is one of the key things that many people are worried.
That you're worried about?
It is not just Ebola, people being brought.
I think it's talking about Ebola billionaires and millionaires.
Even like there's something being packaged with this Ebola thing. I believe.
Which thing?
Like what?
In the interest of the US, not
like
Kenyans.
What?
Okay, I'm not saying that I know it exactly.
But you're smelling a rat.
I'm just saying.
Smelling a rat.
No, not really misinformation. Okay, why so many people wanna feel like it is not good? Huh? Many people feel that it's not good because they feel there's something being packaged. Yeah, the fear of unknown. Yeah, not really even the Ebola thing. It is more than Ebola thing. Yeah.
But what you don't know cannot kill you.
Okay,
Exactly.
before Mheshimiwa comes in, let me find out whether there is anybody who raised eyebrows when the US was giving money for HIV/AIDS, for tuberculosis, the emergency set up by President Bush. The reason why I bring this question is, does Kenya want to establish the reputation that we are just fair weather friends? When they're giving us all this support through USAID, we are very happy. We can have a cup of tea with them. But when they come knocking and saying, there's a little crisis here, can you assist us? Hey, no, it was nice doing business.
But let me add to that. You see, partnerships are good. Thank you. Partnerships are good, but we are looking at the health risks of the Kenyan people. We need transparency on how prepared the government is when these people from US come to Kenya for treatment. That's what we're asking for.
Did you watch Adan Duale on JKL?
Yes, I did.
What did you make of his?
He was a bit opaque.
Opaque are materials you cannot see through.
Yes, you cannot see through.
Okay. I think at this point we really have to go to Mheshimiwa.
Mheshimiwa is not opaque.
That's why I said a bit.
Oh, it's okay.
A bit opaque.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. And I'm happy the way the conversation is going. I think we are seeing more light than heat. And I think that's the essence of the conversation. I want to move away from the abstraction of the subject to a little bit of the practicality part of it. Number one, this partnership was signed in 2015. So it's not something that came up with Rubio announcing this thing. And the agencies need to do much work, because after you finish school, now you learn on your own. So you dig out information on your own. If you Google when this thing was first signed, it was in 2015. So it is nothing new that Rubio leaked to Kenyans. Yes, that's number one. Number two, I want us to be practical, and I liked your question, Adelaide. And I have a question for you. On the unlikely event that through our porous borders, somebody brings Ebola and Adelaide catches Ebola, what do we do with Adelaide?
Okay, in that case, we have our quarantine facilities. We are ready.
Where?
We have 23 others. 22. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
And
in the event that you catch Ebola, on the unlikely event, you won't.
God forbid.
God forbid. We take you to a quarantine facility and take good care of you there until you recover. That's what we are trying to do for the rest of Kenyans. Isn't that a fair thing to do?
no, that's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to bring the cases in. Yeah.
There is
Yet
an
we-
outbreak of Ebola
Yeah, but
in
it's-
DRC.
Yeah.
That thing is contagious.
Yeah.
We fear it will spread to Kenya.
Yeah.
We are creating
So
preparedness.
you fear it will spread and you're bringing exposed people.
No, just
Because we have in Kenya working in the DRC. Yeah, they're there. And they often come to Kenya.
Yeah.
They can also bring this.
Will you
will
will you lock them out or just take due precautions with them? Okay, let's not. Let's leave that one there. We will pursue it after this.
You are protected by the state.
The speaker, thank you for protecting. But speaker, you left me exposed when Joshua came to me with a.
I shall avail quarantine.
You did not need the protection.
Okay. The last thing I want to say is this is another opportunity. The greatest challenge we have in Kenya is unemployment of the youth. Supposing this facility is set up and we ask for 10, 20, 30 graduates from Kenya to go and work there. Will that be, and Adele is among them, to go and perform the nutrition function?
Actually, I'd be very interested to establish if right now.
Will you take those things up?
Okay, actually.
Those opportunities?
Actually, I told my
Colleague.
sisters,
Yeah.
my sisters, that if the cases are brought in, I might consider like postponing my attachment. I wouldn't go to expose myself to a epidemic knowingly.
But there are many diseases that are contagious in our hospitals, and those people get attended.
Yeah, they are, but they're not brought to me. And we they're not brought to me.
Adelaide. Okay. Let's have.
Yes. Last but not least, the essence of debate is so that we can convince.
True.
But if you refuse blatantly, then there's nothing we can do. We just let you be as you let us be.
Pray for you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you for that. And guys, I really want us now to. I think we've had a lot of debate, especially around the Ebola thing. There's been a lot of knowledge exchange and knowledge sharing, and I'm happy. I think you guys have really performed very well in terms of the content that you have, and I think that deserves a clap. Pigie makofi. Yeah, because we interact with most people, and the kind of allegations wanakupatia hapo are so outrageous, unaona. So that is why I really have to like commend you and give you a pat on the back for having done your homework. But it will be a grave abnormality if we finish this discussion without talking about the issue of schools unrest that we have been looking at, especially over these past few weeks and few days. I know you people came from high schools. Most of you probably were in boarding schools. And I would want to know, hii issue ya moto, what is happening in our school, the issue of schools unrest? I think as at this morning, there are over 30 schools have already been closed as a result of unrest and stuff. So what is the problem? What is happening in our schools and our institutions of learning? No. And most of this actually is in the boarding schools. And it's a discussion I even saw, Mheshimiwa, we had it together with you, and we brought in an expert to be able to tell us what are some of the things that normally trigger these discussions. So maybe I can take a few responses on this side, and then we'll also have our panelists maybe help us unpack it, and then we can wind up now. We call it a day, isn't it? Yeah, so feel free to give us maybe your experience briefly, alafu tuone where the problem could be and how we can also contribute in solving it, isn't it? Yeah, and just a brief introduction maybe, because during our days, you also went to high school. boarding school and a day school. And back in those days, you could see there was a specific type of schools that used to like have those unrest and stuff. But what we are seeing currently, you're seeing even the likes of national schools such as Alliance and even going on rampage. Even Maranda, I think currently is closed. I know some of you went to Maranda. I know my brother went to Kangas. Yeah, so maybe you can tell us, Jerry.
Okay. I was a former student of St. Mary's Boys, Yala.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And one of the things that I faced there as a student is that maybe you have bad influence pertaining, maybe you are in a group of people who are not in the right, like you are in a wrong space, or you are with the wrong company. So these people will give you wrong advices, and also they will force you to do the wrong habits. So I can say that also your circle matters a lot. The people that you talk to, the people that you converse with, these are the people that will influence you into to do something, your environment particularly. And I can also echo the academic pressure that we have in schools. Let's say the principal wakes up and say that tomorrow we'll have a mock, and maybe the students disagree. Of course, they will have to take action. And what are the actions that they take? Maybe they'll go and they cause, an unrest in the department of DOS, or maybe the senior most positions of the school, or maybe steals from some of the senior officers of the school, or even burn the school down. Yeah. Also promises. You can see that the BOM maybe agreed with the student body that on this particularly the old school, and the students were aware that maybe the CS will come, and he maybe fails to do so, he fails to show up. So you find that the students will have panic and also, do something pertaining the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Umesema promises ziko mbaya kwa shule.
Empty promise.
Thank you for that. And I know, Daisy, you are a teacher. Perhaps you can, and a parent, and perhaps you can also tell us if your students are at home.
Thank you. First of all, I'd really like to congratulate my boys. They say that the only fire that they recognize is the academic fire.
Which school is that?
Stare Boys Center. Yeah, so my friend is saying that they are lightening fire because of academic pressure. You survived in academic, you survived in that. We survived. So I don't think that is a very valid reason to push them to light fires. Then again, as a concerned parent, I want to say that I think it's lack of accountability, because if you're saying that the students are in wrong spaces with their fellow students, why don't you be like other children? I think we fail as parents to teach our students accountability. We pamper and coerce them. We should take action. And if we don't take action and tighten also our parenting skills as you are upcoming parents, you are supposed to tighten your parenting skills, or else the disaster will continue. So let's teach our kids respect and also accountability.
Thank you, Daisy. Ambrose, we've heard that you are upcoming parents. So let me go to Lilian alafu.
Thank you. In the current situation in our schools, I'm also a teacher by profession.
Unafunza nini?
Kiswahili, geography.
Wow.
Methali na misamiati. Yeah. So there's this unit we did called guidance and counseling. It has been reported some few cases. We have history of school students burning the school, and in a few schools it has caused death, which is so unfortunate. So I think as a precaution measure, when the students are being cancelled, when these motivation speakers come to school, it's best they address that issue of burning schools and the effects that you will lose your classmates, you will lose your most important people you have bonded with, and you will live with that guilt for the rest of your life. So I take this as a responsibility for the teachers and the parents to ensure that these students are guided in the right way to be accountable, as she has said. and to care about fellow students. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. You have said that the students should stay guided.
They should stay guided.
And I want to come to Faye. Faye, we have got stricter rules nowadays, but the schools, these fire incidences seems to be recurring every year, every now and again. And the expert that we had last week actually even told us that these things are normally rampant, especially around second term. What do you think is the problem in our schools?
On my tech, and please nobody should criticize me. I think
It's a free space. What you say here remains here.
I think everyone is just tired. Kids are tired of learning. We out here are tired of living. Like everyone is just tired.
Okay.
Just leave it there.
Okay.
We're just tired.
People are tired. But you see, the students in the school think that life outside here is better than life within
No, they don't think so. Actually, the way he's saying, mtu asikudanganye maisha ni nzuri high school wala huku nje, there is hakuna kitu chochote. First, life is very bad at school. I experienced hell at school.
Ulikuwa shule gani?
Nitatafutwa sitaki.
Tufunge hii dunia tuende.
Unaogopa kutafutwa?
So like when I'm saying students are tired out there, I know what I mean. With the academic pressure, you're saying if we everyone experienced it, but we survived. It's not everyone who survived. Some survived but are still hiding their pain and their anger inside there. You get it? So like the way everyone is just sad right now, the students are also expressing their emotions by banning the school because they're tired and they want to be...
E pressure ni nini? Like e pressure, what is this pressure you are talking about in Uchovu? Why?
Like in our school, we used to do exams like literally every week.
Even in our
exams. We have like...
So the problem is exam.
Yeah.
So we should omit it.
Not omit it, but minimize it.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to come to Big, and I want also to respond to whatever she's alluding to, the aspect of schools concentrating so much on examinations and grades, and there's that like overemphasis on competition and unaona. So is that maybe also contributing to the kind of unrest we are seeing in schools? Because you and I were at Kisumu Boys High School, for the record, and you remember that every day at 3 a.m. there used to be that mathematics paper. You wake up in the morning, you don't know anything, uko kwa paper at the main hall. Yes. And I remember for a very long time there was a time when there was a lot of schools unrest and school fires, and we were even tempted. But I think for most of us, it was a question of the fear of missing out. Maranda washa nini, Maseno wame nini. And then actually there was a time even the sister school pia wamesha choma. So they are on social media wanatuambia, Bana, you are betraying us. You are not men enough. Why are you not banning that thing? Yes, Nico.
Well, Tony, I want to agree with you on the fear of missing out part. That could be a reason. But again, how I see it, this is my point of view. Exams and papers should not be a motivation for people to ban schools. I think, forgive me for going to sound like a prophet of doom, but I generally believe there's a moral lapse in this nation. And it seems like the kids are a mirror of what the adults are doing. Because the adults, we are seeing adults homicide, femicide, and these kind of things. We are seeing someone, because of political opinion, gets set on fire. So it's just a reflection of who we are. So we not necessarily have to blame the kids so much. But there's a lady from Coast here. There's a coastal saying that says, Samaki mkunja angali mbichi. Maybe it's a time for us to focus inwards at the family, see what's happening there. What happened to the Sunday schools and Sabbath schools where we used to be taught values at a young age? I went to Kisumu Boys High School. Things were not easy then, but it never occurred to me to light a mattress on fire. It never occurred to me at any point to do that. So I think, again, accountability, as my sister said, let us be more accountable, but let us do a thorough assessment of how we are raising our families. What's really happening there, and what is our church nowadays? What is the place of values and morality? That's my take, Tony.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 more responses, and then our panel can give their. Yes.
Okay. First of all,
Briefly.
if there's a life that I will wish to go back to, it's my life in high school.
Wow.
Because it gave me one of the best trainings that I've never found again here on earth. We are the only thing we are missing, the morals. Because recently I was talking with somebody I can call my mentor. He did learn at UTUMISHI. When he was learning, each and every second term, the second week, a dome was always being burned. Every year, second term, second week, a dome is being burned. It is being burnt when people are taking SAP. Whoever is burning it, nobody knows. Even if all students are at the assembly, the dome will just burn at the same time. Okay? That's what he told me, and it was like something very natural. It used to occur all this time we were at UTUMISHI. That is what used to happen. So, but right now, whatever is happening, you cannot allude to academic pressure. Yeah, you can't allude to academic pressure. Because if it was academic pressure, remember Matiang'i, was it Matiang'i, who did away with so many things that people thought could be causing people to burn schools. Yeah, you see. So we can't allude to academic pressure. There's right now, perhaps there are so many other things, and also our children are being brought up today are totally different. And then okay, I finalized my schooling at Nyarongi. You see, those days ilikuwa ni watoto na Nairobi ndio wanachomanga mashule. Wenye matoka na Nairobi ndio wanachoma shule. Na atachoma shule because entertainment siji akupewa nafasi ya kuweka nyimbo zake ama movie. Because there's a time shule dome ilichomeka tu sa time entertainment. Na huyu kijana akapatikana, the only thing he said is that alinyang'anywa kuweka nini yake. Na hivyo tu shule ikachomeka. Dome ilichomwa just because of that. So also our upbringing.
Okay. Yeah, any other response naacha huku? Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity. First and foremost, I want to use this opportunity to register and to send my sincere heartfelt condolences to the entire UTUMISHI Girls Senior Secondary School, a national school in Gilgil, that one of its dormitories was caught in an inferno, and we ended up losing 16 young lives. Young girls who had their entire lives ahead of them, their birthdays, their weddings, their graduations. It is really a pity as a country. And then second, on that aspect is that June is often men's mental health awareness month. We live in a society where we really need to check our mental health, especially as men, because as a man is the cornerstone of a family. If the man is in the right state of mind, then he's able to bring up his family in a way that is right and in the Lord.
Okay.
So to come now to that specific aspect of why is it that recently we witnessing a lot of unrest, especially unrest. There have not been so many burning down of schools, but the unrest is seemingly one that is spreading across the country, just like the Gen Z fire is spreading across the country. It's the same thing we're seeing in our schools. It's like that unrest is contagious. So I want to allude to a fact that I'm not a parent yet, but most of these children, especially in junior and senior secondary schools, because the majority of them are the ones that engage in these activities, they are Gen Alphas, the people born in 2012 or after. And if you look at how most of these children are being brought up in homesteads, is that they've been left to social media to bring them up in the context that parents are very busy. Looking for money, and also the state of the economy is not so good. So most of them really put much of their effort and they're away from their families for a longer time. So by the time a parent is coming back home, if a child is in a day school, huyo mtoto ashalala. Or anatoka mapema sana, they don't get to interact.
Okay.
During the holidays, these children they have phones, they have tablets, they're locked up in their rooms, they're watching these things, they are seeing how other Gen Zs out here trying to pull this fire and rage across the country. They're watching our political leaders, most of them holding very high political offices, or rather previous political offices, inciting citizens against the government and even against each other. And also an aspect of rage baiting. such that in these schools, I cannot say that right now children are burning down schools because they're doing a lot of assessment tests. During my time in Kanga High School, but they're also an institution that is molded me both spiritually, intellectually, academically. I can say that during our days, there was even corporal punishment in schools. True. That if you could even be found sleeping in class during a lesson time, you could be told to go and lay in the football pitch and look up the entire day. So those things have been lifted. If it is an aspect of competing in classes, we have this competence-based education that now we're moving from more of a competition and grading type of system to a system where we're moving into skills.
Okay.
So I really need to urge our students to be to quell the anxiety that they have amongst them, and also the parents and teachers to take a collective social responsibility so that we can mold a generation that is going to come up and we're going to be proud of as our children. Thank you.
I endorse. So we really have to come here. So in how many seconds?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Do 1 minute, eh?
Okay. I also think one thing that's also bringing to all this unrest in school and whatever is the poor guiding and counseling sessions, where many students right now are tired of this guiding and counseling sessions where you only get to talk about menstruals, drug abuse, things that are like you find in a year. All the guiding and sessioning lessons, you're only being taught how to place your sanitary pad on your pant, drug abuse, like leo Friday tutaongelea alcohol, kesho tutaongelea, the next week tutaongelea bang, like that. I feel like students are not given the time to express themselves and whatever is whatever they are facing in school. Things like bullying, we have relationships and friendships in schools. Wow. We also have things like peer pressure from parents and also teachers and also the books. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Faye. And at this moment, I want to bring in our panelists, and perhaps it will also be a good opportunity to give you a parting shot, because I know we are pressed with time. You've had what I know you people are in high school probably a few years back, and you've been able to raise those really.
And maybe, Tony,
yes?
if I intercede for my tormentor here,
yeah,
if you can give him the first chance.
Yeah, actually, I was going to do that. I was going to allow him to give his
so that
first.
I can breathe.
yeah. Please go ahead, Bwana Kipto.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one about schools, to be honest, I'm trying to understand the phenomena. I find it more of a systemic issue because it recurs. It possibly forces us to rethink our schooling system as is. As I've said, I think I was in a show where we discussed this a few days ago. I was with Professor Omenya, and he mentioned this hypothesis. He said, how many day schools have been banned? None. So he said, then possibly the architecture of our schooling that is heavy on the boarding than day needs to be different. I came in and gave my analogy that boarding schools were created then out of the desire to keep children in school, because at that early time during the colonial period, schooling was a privilege or was an optional thing. There was no basis for parents then to take, because this is a schooling system, this is an education system being introduced to a different part of the world. So I think 78 years down the line, that needs to change. Number two, there is also need to rewire, just like the way we complain about the police. I don't think we can get good police officers if we don't change their curriculum. If they are continue to be trained kama makurutu and taught about beating people and subduing people as the only policing methodology, if psychology is not infused into and told, policing would call for better de-escalation methodologies. There are better ways police power can be exercised in modern times. And then you add things like technology, surveillance can make work easier, solving. You know, if you have that complete transition and have the curriculum, you would want the police officers to be excited to go to school and have this diversity of knowledge. I don't know, can you reimagine if we decided to employ graduates? Not just saying we want like the bottom of the barrel, someone who gets a D. You know, that is already IDing. I don't have a problem with a D person, but it has made us then define the police as just a product of Ds. Why don't you mix it up and say, okay, fine, we even say 30-40% qualification can be as that low so that we take as many as possible, but we say the other 50% we want graduates and spread out across the different fields. How beautiful will it be? You know, the teachers are taught human psychology. That's how you're able to handle children in an institution easily. So I find this conversation around schooling desiring one systemic overhaul. We cannot continue doing the same thing expecting different results.
Sure.
And I'm happy when she speaks about her experience in school. To be honest, if you hear stories about schools, maybe yours is a bit lighter. The older the generations, the worse. If Moko will tell you his story about high school, if I tell you my story, you will see the older it goes to him. Here it was worse.
Yeah, you used to cross like rivers with crocodiles.
I don't. I think that one. I think that one will be his. That one of crossing rivers and lake will be his. At least for me, it was at least.
Mr. Speaker, please.
I will fight over food. I'll tell you about how food was bad. We were among the last of the bullying generation, because after 2 or 3, 2 or 4, no, I think bullying ended up just going off rather. So this schooling has been this bad vibes. Actually, people talk about it. There are those that will talk about it with bitterness. Some will talk about it. I'm in the category that will laugh about experiences because we'll do the Wavinya Yeliondwele Sipite. So we'll just say, that was then. But if you pause for a minute, you'll see the need for us to have a wholesome conversation. Things have changed. Your generation is really exciting because you're a generation that talks straight and asks questions. I'm a millennial where we try doing what you're doing in a small way, but you're still timid. Yeah. We're a generation that does not dare to. We look for comfort spaces. We are the ones who look for employment and just like ile tundu la sinano kidogo. We all want to fit there. We all graduates fight. That's why we are the generation that you have a job application and 10,000 of us are applying. Yeah. Everyone is chasing after the TSC letter and all that. I'm happy with Gen Z coming down. Maybe Gen Alpha will even be better. You're looking at opportunities beyond just this employment. That's a good thing. But also the best thing that happens with the generation, you speak up. I think then it will be very easy to engage students in school. And it doesn't mean that they are always right, but create a platform. Create a platform. You cannot just blanketly say, whatever they want, we give them. No. It is a two-way traffic. To whom much given, much is expected. So if you can listen to them, say, okay, what do you guys want? They'll say 1, 2, 3. They say, but the school then will do this. We are an institution. Institution has rules. Minus rules, then anarchy ensues. That's where the issue of morality comes in. Of course, abdication. The reason why this conversation is bigger than just schooling environment. We have the parents also outsourcing. Parents have outsourced raising of kids. It's most are raised by house helps, who are also a gig. I wouldn't even have an issue. Why should the house help struggle imposing moral to your child? Yeah, ako gig. That's the bare minimum. Mzazi pia ako shughuli zake huko nje. So you have a case where by the time the kid is thrown at the school, the teachers here are dealing with a bigger problem. They have to parent and teach. So they have instead of her doing her core duty of teaching, then she has to caregive again. She has to start again. And then the kid also pushes back because the children say, "Where's mama yangu?" Right? So what do you have? You have a clash. So it's a very holistic or a wholesome conversation.
Yeah.
I can only wish and hope that as generations come, especially Gen Zs, Gen Alphas, maybe something will be different. I don't know. Oh, the most beautiful thing about this conversation. Previously, it used to be assumed that fires are lit in extra county schools and county schools. Is it not very awesome for statistics purposes that it's only national schools that are burning?
Yeah, it's
Is it not good enough now to make the conversation holistic? Because previously wakasema hao ni wale wenye wameshindwa kufanya, wale machopi wako sawa. Sasa alliance ndio wanataka kuchoma. That is so good. That is so good.
I think you can,
Mr. Speaker.
you can leave it. You know, he's an alumnus of Alliance High School. So.
That is good. Now they can engage in this conversation with guys from Kesogon Secondary School near my home area. I'm happy now we can have that
Today,
conversation.
Mheshimiwa, strays seem to be getting you from all directions.
Set me up.
But before I come to you, allow me to come to the Duke of Mosochio to also
that
give
is the
him-
right.
Yeah.
Now, this gentleman and I went to a very good school, the prestigious St. Mary's School, Yala. And I don't remember Yala ever going on a strike because of the culture. During my time, we had a principal called Mr. Were. I remember once President Moi visited the school and he gave a tranche and he said that is for a project of your choice. That is what he told the master, that he person here total for a project of their choice. And you know, people expected that the principal was going to buy paint and repaint some classes. But he put together a committee, wakaulizwa, how do you want us to spend this resource? Obviously, we said you wanted bread and blue band. And I remember we were given bread,